Better now?
Yeah, I'm better. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
kicking and shouting and waiting to
In
get
this
out of.
different.
What is that, Ashok? Can you repeat what you said?
I, I, I said sorry. I'm just saying that this seven realities and what you put on the screen is something different. So
Yes, I will go to the right one. Hold on. Yeah.
Good morning, Jai Mer Baba.
Jai
Morning.
Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Baba.
Over to you, Ashok. Why don't you start with seven realities?
Okay. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. First, the only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. Second, the only real love is the love for this unity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. Third, the only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. Fourth, the only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. Fifth, the only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. Seventh, can you please raise it up a little bit, please? The screen. Uh, sorry.
That's all.
Karthik, maybe you can read it. Sorry, I can't see the screen.
The only real surrender is that in
Is
which
that
poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar
part?
Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you. So, yeah, so welcome back. And this is, I'm not very sure, it's anywhere between 64 and 65, 65th session of Discourses, right? So that's just for those of you interested in the numbers. And as we decided last time, we will just do a retro of where we started, where we ended up, see the hits, see the misses. I think there are more misses than the hits, but then it's a good learning so that we are able to do this, we are able to better this as we take up other books and as we continue the journey of getting awakened through Meher Baba's messages. So I'll tell you what I have in mind. Um, we'll start by just quickly seeing the where we started, right? Where we started was screen is visible, correct?
Yes.
Screen,
Yeah.
screen is visible, but there's only some picture.
Even now,
Yeah, still a
Now it's
picture.
visible. Okay. Slide.
It's the slide, right? Yeah, it says Discourses pre-course primer. I hope I'm doing
I
the
can't see
right
that.
one.
We can't see that.
What's that?
We can't see the Discourses primer. I'm just seeing the screensaver.
No, I can see the Discourses primer slide.
Yeah, I think Ashok, it's your connection or your.
Yeah, now I can see.
Teams.
Now I can see. Thank you, Jay Baba.
All right. Okay. Cool. Thank you. So what we did, and though many of you may remember from when we started, we just set out the objectives. So we wanted to do a slow group reading followed by discussion to clarify and brainstorm. I think we did reasonably well there. As I said, to cover the 380 odd pages or 400 pages, we took about 65 sessions, almost 100 hours of reading, which is good. And I think personally, at least, it's been a great learning over the earlier attempts to read discourses since MBA and even before. We tried to get personal experiences. I think we did well, somewhat, not so great, but we did introduce a lot of personal experiences wherever possible. Interrelate with Baba's other works, I think that we did reasonably well, and I'll show you more when I show you what we did on Trello. Yeah, this is just the chapters. So this is rules of engagement. Now here's something interesting that came up. So we'll anyway go to the themes because me and Sunil and obviously we did some thinking around this retro discussion today and also the whole journey. And Sunil just randomly, because I just happened to text him, nothing formal. But what we figured is there are some good questions he brought out. I will bring those out when we go to Trello. But what we did initially was we also analyzed this word cloud. For those of you who remember, from that word cloud, we went to the concepts, right? The concepts, some of them are paired, some of them are freestanding, like avatars and perfect masters are together, reincarnation and karma, as the chapter title is together. The rest of them are freestanding. But then I have some questions now. And when we go to Trello, let's take those questions and see if we learned. Please wear the hat. All of us should wear the hat of somebody who is reading discourses for the first time, either as someone new to Meher Baba or someone new, it's just somebody who's interested in spirituality in general and not necessarily aware of Meher Baba. And the reason I say that is that the objective of putting out all this rich video and Trello content is to make self-learning possible. So we'll just assess if we did the right things there. Okay, we'll come back to these concepts in a bit. So this is the pairing of that, but then the pairing we did away with. We said pairing is important only for a few of them. Now, this is the sequence discussion, and I'll go to that in a bit. Yeah, so yeah. Okay, so now let's just go to Trello. By the way, I have a little quiz that I'll keep throwing in between. So we'll have some fun today. So if you come to Trello, and I think we can actually spend time literally on a chapter level to see if these chapters belong to where they belong, okay? Because that's important. And in fact, if you think that's a poor use of time collectively, I'd like at least volunteers who can take up these themes, do some soul searching, and come back to confirm this classification or readjust this classification, or at least bring proposals that the group can consider, right? So that's, I think, better done individually. But the idea is, like, each of these chapters, just make sure that they belong to these groups correctly or not, right? Now, some of the one important point is Sunil already on?
Yes,
No,
yes,
he's not on.
Yes, yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, you are. Okay. So, yeah, Sunil had a very good point, and I did some research after that, but I was not able to get to a conclusive evidence. His point is, and I'll let him speak a little more on this, is on the use of the theme spirit and matter as something that's more alienating than just using the word spirituality, right? So, but then my immediate reaction to him was Baba also uses it very frequently, as in life of the spirit. There's a chapter, life of the spirit, and he tries to contrast it with the material world, and he uses the word spirit as opposed to spirituality. But then the evidence is not very good. So spirituality has hundreds of references as a word in the book, which is obvious. But as spirit, it's obviously much lesser. But I'll open it up and request Sunil to say anything else that he wants to say in this regard.
I think, Karthik, you said it. It's exactly what you mentioned. I would, my thought was this fellow is, the effort is to help the beginners and we make it easy for them for simpler concepts and keep the more difficult things, other things to understand towards the end or on the side, park them on the side. So simple things like Maya, samskaras, consciousness, love, ego. These are very, very common topics. And also certain things that you encounter in your day-to-day life, learning around them. Spirit and matter is a bit dense. Uh, I think God is also a little bit dense, maybe for slightly more graduated people. More interesting topics generally that you encounter in spiritual path when people go to temples and or wherever places of worship would be more like Maya, sanskaras, consciousness, love, ego kind of thing. So we begin with easier topics and take them towards more difficult ones on that path. We can readjust the fellow is my thinking and topics
So
again,
that
subtopics.
Yeah, that brings up, I mean, he sneaked in a very important point, Sunil. So that brings up the important point that Sunil also brought, which I've been thinking overnight as well, which is, I think, is there a way we can actually build a sequence of these themes? Simpler to tougher, related to more deeper expositions and so on, so that we are able to even suggest a thematic sequence of learning. I think if anyone, obviously the people on this group should think and come up with that. So that also is a very important suggestion from Sunil, right? So how do we convert this to a healthy, easy, and practical sequence that people can take away and use as a way of learning, right? So yeah, I'll open it up. Others have been quiet, so I'm sure your inputs are precious as well. Mamaji, Namita.
No, I have not done any exercise on this from the beginning itself. So this was a classification which is suggested to group the topics in such a way that they have some sort of a relevance or coherence while we study. So that is okay, but that is for a deeper understanding of discourses. And we have just touched the top of the iceberg, maybe trying to dig in and all that. So it may develop further, I think. It is the beginning, and maybe those who are deep into this can do further work and then try to modify, if necessary, this sequence and rearrange things as per the requirements. And one suggestion about this, what you discussed about spirit and matter. So can we coin that as spirituality and materialism? That is one suggestion.
Yeah, that's something we can do. Yes, we can easily take that suggestion. In fact, that's so. Just to react to Sunil, and then I'll come to you in a minute. Another reaction to Sunil's idea is, yes, these are some of these are dense, but then I think the entry bar is high, right? So if you're on Trello, if you looked at Meher Baba, you Google spirituality, well, you are already dense, man. You're not the normal dude on the street. So you have ticked a few boxes. So I think you're ready for this shit.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree, Karthik.
Yeah.
See, if you
Yeah.
turn
Yeah.
spirit into spirituality,
I think that makes sense.
the net is very wide. You're casting the net
Yes.
very wide.
Yes.
If you turn spirituality into spirit, you're going deep. It's
And
almost
also
like
giving
soul,
you connotations which
right?
are unhealthy.
Yeah. So I completely agree with Mamaji. Make it
Mhm.
wide,
Mhm.
spirituality and materialism. Yes, that's something everybody will connect with. And spirituality has almost 1,000 references in discourses if you do the word count. Spirit
Yes.
has very few,
Very few, less than 100,
right?
less than
Less than
50.
100. Yeah, maybe 50. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So how my whole thinking was how to make it connect with what everybody goes through, and then it's easy for people to just relate to what they're looking at. Everybody has some level of understanding of what they're doing whenever they read a book like Discourses, so they just need to grow up from there. It should be an easy
Absolutely.
ladder. Yeah, bar should not be very high. Yeah, that's my thought. Thank you, Mamaji. I agree.
Okay. Okay. The
Second
other
reaction
point,
to, yeah, go ahead.
that comes to my mind is if we just read the headings of these different groups, what I can see is info, general, spirit and matter, consciousness, sanskaras, God, Maya, avatar, and perfect masters. Is there anything else? Yes. Love, ego, reincarnation and karma, yoga, meditation. So, except for I think yoga and meditation, which are practices that will help you in, say, your progress in the path. So, all other things referred to, uh, and especially reincarnation, karma, ego, and then the other initial things. So these are concepts which are very dense to understand for a beginner. So beginner thinks that life is what life he is living is a spiritual life itself from the say initial practices in the family and all that. So both say bowing to God at some time or say reciting mantras or say slokas or any say text related to any literature, religious things, practices. So with that he lives in his material world, but he doesn't interrelate them. And then gradually over a period of time, this interrelationship between the life that he lives and then the concept that are brought in because of these religious practices or rituals or texts later on becomes sort of an inquiry. So that is why we are finding it difficult. So those people who are new to spiritual, say, progress, will suddenly think of what is Maya, what is, say, spirit and matter, what is the difference. What do you mean by reincarnation and karma? So these are things which are concepts which are coming up to their mind. Maybe they are having the seeds of this in their say religious practices and other things, but to understand them in completion and to say implement or use them for their understanding of newer concepts becomes a difficulty. So because of these are they become difficult when we study these texts. So those who have some sort of a backup knowledge from their already exercises in their religious practices or studies can go through this in a uh, better fashion. So that's why for a beginner, these concepts needs to be understood. So I think a primer on these terms and then the concrete knowledge available on that, not in all the details as we went through in discourses, but at least a brief idea for them to understand needs to be there before they can enter into discourses. That is my feeling. Jai Baba.
Absolutely good inputs. And your first intervention, obviously, I have to admit, as always, you're very, very humble. And you've been leading the journey in terms of input and understanding and so on. And your inputs are important here. So you've been very self-dismissive by saying tip of the iceberg, but it is tip of the iceberg at another level. So it's a matter of perspective. But on the second comments that you made, I think if you're seeing the screen right now, your classification, which that you did mentally, was spot on, right? So only yoga and meditation was about action. And if you remember when we classified this, so this is all about knowledge. So all the first themes, 99% of it is about knowledge. So it's about how to lead your life and how to lead your, it's a guide to living your life in a spiritual way, right? And then specifically the pair of yoga and meditation, in fact, there's a very good suggestion again from Sunil on yoga. I'll come to that in a minute. Is the action part. So you have 99% of good theory that you can apply in your mind, apply in your day-to-day life, and then how do you actually put it in action? Action of thought, word, and deed again is yoga and meditation, and that's where Sunil's idea comes in, and which is when you say yoga, his point is it karma yoga or is it broader than karma yoga? So we'll probably go to the chapters and see is it karma yoga alone or is it broader than karma yoga? So if you look at the chapters under yoga, it is action and inaction, and then there is selfless service. Obviously, selfless service, dynamics of spiritual advancement, deeper aspects of sadhana, work for spiritual freedom of humanity, task for spiritual workers. All that is clearly karma yoga. Qualifications of the aspirant one and two, and I mean the four of them, those are more neutral, right? So they're not just karma yoga. They are more about the journey of spirituality. So in that sense, it's broader. So I would say leave it as yoga, but then yoga by itself is too physical and connotation is different in the minds of people. So that's something to think about as well. And that's where I think Mama's good input again is important, where we actually write a primer about each of these concepts so that it sets the boundaries of what we mean by each of these words, not necessarily in the greater detail that's there in the book, but at least set our boundaries from a learning objective standpoint and then get to classification. I think that's a good input as well, right? Others, any other inputs, guys? And then we break for the first quiz question.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Namita.
So far it's been very nice. I enjoyed and I like what everybody is saying. You know, when we go to Mehrabad, people like us who've never been there before, you don't know where to begin and what is the next thing to do. So that is physically when you're there. Also, according to, which book to read, what is where, it's all very dispersed. And for someone like who's just gotten into the Baba world, he doesn't know anything. With the discussion we've had so far, I almost see it as a, um, you know, um, as a manual for getting into Baba world. Simple steps. What are the practical things and how someone who's new can take baby steps and then arrive at deeper concepts in something. Yoga, practical things, loving our, loving other people. All those things that we read, those are things when someone is just gotten into the Baba world. If you tell him you can do these five things, and then second you can read these books, so it will be easier for it's like a book for kindergarten students.
Uh,
Slowly they graduate, and since we've gone through it ourselves, I think something like this, like a little booklet which can tell you, one step, two step, three step, like that. And all these discussions, I do see a book coming out of this. Yeah, Jai Baba, that's all.
a big round of applause to Nomita. She already volunteered last night with little push from us to actually bring out this ebook. So this ebook will be basically talking about the themes and acting as a guide, a companion reader or a companion book that we can try to promote as something that people can take away along with discourses. And I like what you're saying, which is where when people want to get into knowledge after making their first contact with Meher Baba, where do they start? Right. So that should be the foreword for this book. And then you go to these themes, then you go to discourses, then maybe we'll future editions can add more books to it. But
And
thank
also
you for
another thing I
volunteering
wanted to bring up,
to
Jai
write this
Baba.
book.
Mamaji many times says, I've been a Krishna devotee and it's very hard for me to let go. Yeah, this has been my dilemma also right from the beginning. But as you go deeper, Baba says, I'm Krishna, I'm Ram. So when new people come and then they know that, even if it is explained pictorially, it will be easier for them because you struggle as a human being. You say, now I'm taking this Parsi Baba as my, I don't know whether I'm going wrong. Am I wasting this whole Janam by going in a wrong direction? So these questions keep on coming to you. But if we quote him in wherever he said this, so and have a pictorial description of what he's trying to say, it'll be easier for new people to land in the Baba world. And if you remember, Baba also always ushers you into his world. He'll always have someone waiting for you. He'll always have someone guiding you. So this could be a book as an usher, into Baba world, where it simplifies concepts. So for my case, because I am always accused of being the heart and rest of you are the mind. So what I for my own sake, what I'm going to do is all these concepts, the way they appeal to me, because I as I always say, I don't understand a whole lot, but the things that resonate with me and makes it simple for me to get into that, I'm going to classify it that way and then give it to all of you. Then you can have the other one, the brain way or whatever, and then we can maybe make something out of that. Jai Baba.
The book is yours. We will provide. We will provide in. We will provide input, but you have the
I
privilege
can
of
give a
this.
I can give a small, say, guideline or some sort of a framework as I see
Yeah.
regarding
Can
this
you hear
work
that? I can't hear.
envisaged.
There's a beautiful painting from NPR that Sunil is showing now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a picture of it, so I've
Yeah.
turned it into backdrops. Now I have a few of them,
What?
so I'll keep flipping.
Can you put it in this?
Hold on.
Nice. So let's take a little break. I tried to do something. I think I'm getting an echo. Yeah. So I thought we'll do something interesting by uh, taking up the stories that are there in discourses and seeing how well we remember and how well we are able to connect what that illustrative story had to do with our learning journey, right? So I picked four of them. We will take them one at a time and let's see how we remember what that story is about, right? You may remember the story, but then the learning and the reason that illustration was used is what I'm after in this quiz, right? So let me just read this story real quick. It starts here. Of the different realms of human thought, there are perhaps none as abounding in superstitions as those connected with ghosts, who, according to popular belief, are supposed to harass and torture their victims in curious ways. Once upon a time, during the Mughal rule in India, a highly educated man who was very skeptical of the stories about ghosts made up his mind to verify them from personal experience. He had been warned against visiting a certain graveyard on the night of Amavasya, the darkest night of the month, for it was reported to be the habitation of a very dreadful ghost who unfailingly made its appearance whenever an iron nail was hammered into the ground within the limits of the graveyard. With a hammer in one hand and a nail in the other, he walked straight into the graveyard on the night of Amavasya and chose a spot bare of grass in order to drive in the nail. The ground was dark, and his loosely hanging cloak was equally dark. When he sat on the ground and tried to hammer in the nail, an end of his cloak lay between the nail and the ground and was pinned down. He finished hammering and felt that he was successful with the experiment without encountering the ghost. But as he tried to rise to leave the spot, he felt a strong pull toward the ground and he became panic stricken. Owing to the operation of previous impressions, he could not think of anything except the ghost, who he thought had caught him at last. The shock of the thought was so great that the poor man died of heart failure. Right? So now, how many of you remember what this is about and what concept is being illustrated here?
Karthik, I just attempt. I think it's about the occultism. The chapters on occultism.
No, close.
Owing to the operation of the previous impressions. So
Yes.
it is all about impressions or sanskara.
Yes.
So even though we try to say intellectually think that we can always easily come out of these impressions as we get the knowledge broadened, still we get stuck because our cloak is always nailed to it. So we need to plug it out and then let's say experience and then plug it out. So that is the concept here brought out, I think.
Round of applause for Mamaji. He's right. So it's from the chapter Formation and Function of Sanskaras. So it's the creation of impressions and how impressions can cause so much of impact on how you process a fact, right? If you process the fact of that tugging from the ground, and your impression of the ghost is what made you die, and not anything else, right? So that's the concept. Good one, very good. So his tip of the iceberg is pretty deep already, right? So with that, let's get back to Jivatma Kama is quiet. What's going on? Is he there?
And the way to become Shivatma.
Oh, is he there? Yeah, he is there, but he's quiet. Unusually quiet. What's going on?
JK first.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay, where are your inputs? Jump in, provocate.
Well,
Provoke.
okay. Let me summarize the discussion that you had about the primer part. Okay.
Sure.
So if you want to give a primer to people,
Mhm.
then we have to look at it from the point of view. Suppose you are asked to give an introductory talk of Baba to school children or to even new aspirants who are visiting, like Nomita was saying, how do you introduce Baba? I believe that especially with children, if you are able to communicate Baba's messages or philosophy and they are able to grasp it, then we have made some headway. So the way I look at it is that I have like 10 words, which I believe that children can relate to it. Anybody who goes to English school, we talk about human beings, So the two words I would say, being or becoming, right? So you ask questions to the children. What do you mean by being and becoming? Why do we define ourselves as human being? What is human? What is being? Actually, we are going right through the drawing board to interpret each and every word that we use in the Baba spiritual literature. Because Baba communicated in English probably because, this is all a divine script that English has become the universal language. And the original messages of Baba are in English. And if you live in New York City or Singapore, I don't know how it is in Singapore, right in Manhattan, you have 15 or 20 different dialects of English and how they speak English. So English being an ambiguous language. So what I'm saying from a spiritual point of view and from the Baba aspect, we should ask qualifying questions to the kids to an experiment and see what are the words that jump out and that can help the children to relate to Baba. So being and becoming. I say thinking, mind, ego. To be, you don't have to use transcended by breathing heart loud. People know about thinking and breathing. So you ask questions. What do you mean by thinking? What is breathing? Okay, and what is mind and what is heart? Everybody talks about the heart as if we all know. We assume that, oh, I know what is a heart. No, you ask the kids and they will give you amazing explanations. What is mind and heart? And then what is love and ego? Because this whole creation is about love. We are here to talk about how to awaken divine love in us. And so thinking, mind, ego, breathing, heart, love. So that is 6 words. Being and becoming, 8 words. Now, of course, the word sanskaras is a very tough word, but we can talk about imprints and impressions because every human being, whether you're a kid or a senior citizen in your 7 stages of life, when you get up in the morning, we are doing the action of thoughts, words, and deeds. That's it. That's where people stop. But they don't understand that we are creating impressions or imprints. So there's nothing wrong in explaining or communicating this idea of how your good and bad thoughts, good and bad words, and good and bad deeds make an impression. People just say like, oh, don't say any bad word, and that's it. But if the kid will ask you why, so you have to have an explanation. So I think the word sanskara is a great introduction for all and sundry, impression or imprint. Everybody wants to make a good impression. And then, of course, the most abused word, I say the word God, G-O-D, it's an English term. Now, that is something that can be discussed. So these 10 words, I feel is a good, from my point of view, is a good way of asking qualifying questions. How do they interpret this word? Because all these words are already known to the kids, except for maybe sanskaras. So this is one input from my side. The second thing about, look, we are not here for, yes, Baba said, like, work for the spiritual freedom of humanity. First, we have to work on ourselves
And then hopefully what we are doing will be, there will be some kind of osmosis, towards other people who are interested. So are we clear about the concepts? Number one, that is the point here. So second thing is, when I was an analyst, I had to write research reports. So I'm going to share something that is related to what we are trying to do. You start from what I call as the top-down approach, right? Which is where we are talking about that we assume there is something called God realization. It is only for people who have faith in that. So you start with the top-down approach. The second thing is I call the macro and the micro aspects of anything. Then the third is you have the quantitative and qualitative aspects. We have seen in laws of matter, that there are a lot of numbers, pi and stuff like that. And then in the spiritual world, Baba has given us 84 lakh lives, the 7,000 functional spiritual hierarchy, 56 God realized souls, 5 perfect masters, and the list goes on. Now, this is for the Baba world in terms of how we discuss these concepts. When we talk about discourses and God speaks and other literature by Meher Baba, New Humanity and Beams, and there are some other books. So what I feel is then you ask these basic questions, who is God? What is God? Why God? Why are we discussing this? Because this is something that there is nothing like material life and spiritual life are two separate things. What we are trying to do is, can you lead a material life in a spiritual sense? Because spirituality gives you the values. Material life is all about goals. Can I make a better bonus than last year? Can I get more stock options? That is a material life. But spiritual life is more about values. So in a way, they are two sides of the same coin. So instead of materialism and spiritualism, because there are many isms anyway, we can talk about material life and spiritual life. So I think by talking about avatars and first of all, God and Maya, everybody talks about God, everybody, either an atheist or whatever. So I think from a macro level approach, we have to start from the top, understanding these concepts. And I think that 7 paradigms which we have discussed, the first 6 are for right knowledge, and the yoga and meditation is for right action. And right knowledge does not become, knowledge does not become right knowledge till you put it into action. So it goes hand in hand. And so apart from that, so I think I'll stop here, Jai Baba.
Yeah, so I think all your inputs are well received, and I think you have to collaborate with Nomita. I know this is all of us have things that we are busy with, but I think let's set a common ambition on when to get this done. So can we target Amartiti 22, or is that too ambitious? Right. So let's work backwards from to use Kama's approach. Let's start top down. So when do we want to release the book, right? And it's a booklet, so let's not fool ourselves to think that it's very big. It may not even come out in physical form. I leave that to Nomita. It's just an ebook. So basically, between now and whatever date we decide, we just come up with putting all these thoughts in written down form, get it edited, get it blessed by all the people on this group who want to volunteer to help there, and finalize it. So is that too ambitious, Nomita, or is that doable?
Baba.
3 months, 3 full months.
No, it's not very ambitious since we have already gone through it. So all of us put the inputs together, and from there, but we'll have to make a team. No,
Yes.
everybody must know who's doing what. Otherwise, we'll wait till Amartithi and then say, "Oh, you had to do it." So we'll have to assign, who gets who connects the material, who wets through it. What is the
So
flow
my
of it
video
going
is
to be?
not on, but I'm actually bowing down to you right now. So you can
Why?
drive, you can drive, you can assign the responsibilities. You're the boss on this topic,
What?
right? So
Boss, la. Please, la. Don't like that, la. I scare one.
can. So
Okay, la. We
so
see,
you
We see how.
can. Can what? You plan and come back now.
Okay,
J,
la,
J,
okay, la. I see how to do one.
Okay,
Others
ma.
fish shop इनको क्या हो गया?
Jay
No,
Baba.
he started. Kama started it. He said dialects in English. So we're trying out Singlish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that's good.
let's. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. So I take that as a consensus on trying to get this out, Amartiti 22. And we'll try to keep the first edition simple. Maybe we just focus on discourses, but then let's keep all the things that we said in mind and get it done. And just a soft copy. We are not doing a print. That's what I think is a good
No,
start.
I mean, if the soft copy is ready, print is not a big deal. We can do that as well. Print is
Okay,
not a big thing. Yeah.
great.
So far, I think the what it has to have two viewpoints of ushering a newcomer or a child. One is Baba's words, and one is the commoner's words. So Baba's words, all of you can give. Commoners, people like me with limited IQ, we can put that. So that way, both kind of people can benefit from this.
Absolutely. That's a good summary. I can't emphasize this too much on helping Nomita and Kama and us put this together. So please, all of you, Mamaji, Ashok, please actively get involved and help put this together. Oh, there are quite a few others now. All of you, Ravi, Jayanti, please jump in and help get this done. As we have been saying when we started MBA, it's
Jay
about
Baba,
yeah. Go
do we
ahead.
have any artists in the group? People who can draw?
Kama has access to a few Baba lover artists that we can bring in and use. He's working on a project which has a couple of
Some
good
visuals
artists.
would be good.
Yeah. I'm sure he can help. I'm thinking of Ashwini Kama, so I think we can get Ashwini to help. He's a very nice artist who's very creative. But I think if you can give him input, he can come up with stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Jay Baba, to all the MBA, MBNs, MBINs or whatever, all the group, I have a few thoughts which I wanted to share with you. So number one is that when we were starting this reading, we are trying to find out where one good easy way of correlating is that supposing we have a term called sanskaras, and which all pages or cross references of where this word has come can perhaps help a person to know where it has been mentioned, or if he wants to write an article, or where all this word sanskaras or maybe karma has come in, or let's say we have to search for a word called karma kanda, because even at the end of God Speaks, they have given some references to where that word can. In many of the textbooks which I have used, they have a cross reference of terms. So if somebody is new, wants to look up a particular term, and also there are many stories in the discourses, and that story deals with which particular aspect of spirituality, whether it's relating to, let's say, for example, reincarnation or karma, or so perhaps we can relate the story to the theme. That might be helpful to the beginners.
In fact, the second project that you refer to is something I'm very interested in. So I've been thinking of this for the last few days, and I've just done 5. It takes a lot of effort, right? First, finding the story. Second, linking it correctly, creating some way of presenting it, and so on. So feel free to take that up and complete it independently. That can be a separate exercise, which can be very useful, right? I share your enthusiasm on the second project. On the first one, I don't know how to institutionalize it, right? So obviously, if you open up, so I don't know how many of you know this, but you can actually open a PDF in Word. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I know it sounds crazy.
convert that, right? Convert that.
Yeah, so this is Discourses opened up in Microsoft Word, right? Now, why I'm suggesting that is because Word has the best word processing, right? So it does a better job of word processing compared to PDF or HTML or whatever, right? Now, so once you get to that point, it becomes very easy for you to do string searches. You can just so with a little bit of creativity, you can string search literally anything, right? So if you do spirit, you get spirituality, spiritual, everything. But then little techniques like which word allows. So you can put a couple of spaces on both sides, and then if you find, you'll find only spirit, right? So on and so forth, right? So this is a very powerful word processing tool. Tool. And then if you open up discourses in Word, I think you can do what you're saying. And second, I don't know how familiar you are, Ashok. You can take this up as well. I can help you a little bit. You can actually build a cross reference, right? So, are you seeing the menu items that's on display right now? So, you can actually create an index and Word creates it for you, right? So, you can select the words and then it inserts a table, not a table of contents, but basically an index at the end, which will allow you to cross index like the way you said. So it's not very difficult to achieve. But then I'll tell you the challenge. The challenge is the PDF pagination is pathetic. So when you open the PDF in Word, look at what's happened.
Yeah.
It's completely messed up, right? And that's because I don't know what old software they've used or what techniques they've used to create the PDF. So that's a challenge. So if somebody is able to clean this up, it's not very difficult, but it's painstaking skunk work. If you can convert this neatly into Word, obviously it opens up immense opportunities for word processing, inserting indexes, and so on. Right. So that's input for you, Ashok, for your first project.
Okay, I'll have to get used to it. I'm not used to this menu. But
Sure.
My question is that will that be helpful to a newcomer? Is what I was thinking about, or to anybody?
This has come up. This has come up multiple times. Even Kama is very excited about the cross-indexing of terms, and in fact, he links it to another topic which we didn't do too much justice in this read, and that is of can you cross-index the themes that we have discovered to the 7 realities? And I know you also talked about this in the past. So those are two things that are useful. I'm not sure how much for what set of terms, but for some terms, it's a good way of learning because if you take something like Maya, I know there are 4 clear chapters on Maya, but then curiosity always plagues us to see what has been said of Maya in other places. And there are a few more references. And as a serious student, one might want to just go and see that and see what he can cull out or what he can learn from that. So it's a useful tool, no doubt. And I think building this cross-indexed version of discourses may not be a bad idea. And we can surely work on it. Yeah. With that, let me just take another break and do another question. Right. So quiz number 2. Okay. This I'm reading out. Yeah, Mama.
Before you do this, say the discussions and then the concept that we try to look into last half an hour or 45 minutes is not so clear. What Nomita...
Let me try to summarize at least in my head, and then Nomita, Kama, others can jump in. Till now, what we have discussed is we believe that there is room for institutionalizing into a book form the conceptual breakdown of the themes that we have done as a way of helping, and to use Nomita's word, ushering in a newcomer into the knowledge path of Baba, right? And
Yes.
towards that, we are trying to write down the themes and also take in input from what Kama was saying of trying to use everyday terms and create a process of discovery. Ask the question and see the answer, and then go to the next term and so on. So that has to evolve. How the book is actually going to get structured will probably evolve. But the idea is bring those themes as something that is read. This booklet will be read with and before somebody launches into reading discourses in a serious manner, right? So that's how much we have been able to reach from a decision standpoint. What the specific chapters are, what the specific content is, how detailed, how big, we do not know. Is there a good summary,
No,
Namita, Kama?
I have a few points on this. The
Okay.
thing is, who is the beginner? To whom are we targeting this book? So there are, you are going to one extreme when you go to the second part of your explanation, which is say seeker who knows quite a bit, and then trying to understand and interpolate all the aspects of different, say, dense literature from Baba. But who is the beginner? Say, as far as I am concerned, if I come to a sort of a storyline to introduce a new person to Baba, so what is the way? You introduced Baba to me, and what all happened, I can relate it as a story. Say, I uh, say, read a few lines, a few pages of the book that you gave me, and the talk we had, and then after some time, I had the contact with some other people also, and then got some very light introductory literature about Baba. Then I searched and then took his life history. I wanted to know who is this, what is his life, how far he is referred to as God, and all that. This question. Then we went to Samadhi, and then what all happened there is a different issue. So each one will have a different experience. Baba draws the people to his fold. That aspect is a different issue, and that is a thing which need to be say talked about, because that is what is actually the say the anchor which keeps you with Baba for a lifetime. So that is what we have to target also. And then to know about Baba, say some biography related to Baba, or storyline, the biography, and then they can dwell deeper from there. And then maybe Lord Meher, 400 pages or 450 pages, initial aspect, which gives a clear picture of the say the avataric descent, and then the development of the avatar into the real God fold. So the man becomes God man, actually reveals himself as God man. That is brought out, and what are the actual play of these five Sadgurus, and then all these concepts are brought in with that Lord Meher, about 400 to 500 pages, I think, before that. So that needs to be brought to the newcomer, so knowledge, so that he can dwell there. That is how I have developed. And then all the messages, initially what is brought to our notice is the messages from Baba, cryptic messages which give a new inkling to already understood ideas in our mind. And then these messages draw you to a reference further, say, expansion on those areas. So this is how people are brought into Baba's fold. I am not speaking about those who have a family trait of a relationship with Baba. That is another aspect. Those who are already introduced to Baba by way of their family links or by way of their other links, that is another aspect. We need to have a small chapter on that, where how they expand from there. Just and then the third aspect is, apart from all of us, what we are trying to do here, there are millions of Baba lovers who have not read, who will never read God Speaks or Discourses, but they are drawn to Baba. They are with Baba. They are the true disciples of Baba in love with Baba. So, how do we understand that? How do we tell about that? All those issues also to be looked into. This is a broad way I look into this. I think people can give a few thought on these lines and then try to put these aspects in some perspective in the book for a introduction to a newcomer. So the second part should be the intellectual or the all the Microsoft jugglery that we can do with let's say different literature, that is God Speaks, Discourse, and other aspects. Jai Baba.
Jai
Whoa,
Baba.
whoa, 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 whoa. Nomita,
Right.
22 or
Yeah,
23 now?
absolutely. My thought was on the same. I've been thinking, I've been visualizing the book absolutely the way
Very
Mamaji
nice.
said. It's
Nice.
exactly how I was seeing it. I was getting stuck with, the words, how to. So what we can do is uh, ge- generalization. We can do like this a few chapters, but people who are specialists in understanding words, they can author certain chapters. So we will flow the book very similar to how Mamaji said, and then in special cases we can invite, for example, Kamaji, and like you have gotten these anecdotes together, so maybe you can do a chapter on that, and Mamaji can do a chapter on, from Krishna to consciousness, something like that. And
Can I interrupt here?
Sir,
Because we always think of only, say, our own background or our own religious knowledge. But
yes,
while we talk of Baba, we need to integrate all the other religions also.
yes,
We need to have inputs like how they relate, say, Jesus to Baba, how they relate
yes, yes.
Allah to Baba, or say, Zoroaster. So we need to have some inputs, those who have the background and then can give the sort of inputs on these lines also.
Absolutely. And we are very fortunate, we have a very nice and dynamic mix. Maybe Khalid can do something
Khalid can help, yes.
about Islam. Christianity, we can find someone, and well, we can find people.
Yes, yes.
That's not, even if we don't find people in Baba's literature, how he says that I am everyone, I've come like this and stuff like that. So we can even pick up stuff from what Baba has already said. And yes, that chapter is also very, very important, because that's that's sometimes a bone of contention. I am a Muslim, what am I doing looking at this Parsi Baba? I'm a Hindu, I'm a Shaivite, what am I even doing here? you know so, not saying, we are not equipped, or we are not, uh, I mean, who are we anyway? So everything that goes into this has to come from Baba's literature. It's just that we simplify it and present it, with some, this thing about going to the samadhi. First time somebody tells you the name, who is this? So simplifying this knowledge so that you are entering Baba's world, is very useful, because many people ask me also, who is this Baba? What are you talking about? Why do you listen to him so much? Why is he everywhere? So it's difficult to explain, because although there is a lot of information, it is so vast, you know. It is not simplified for a newcomer to understand. So I'm completely with you, Mamaji. We should do it this way and get everybody's perspective. I'll figure out. I mean, I'll give my inputs on the way chapters should move. Then next week we can see, or in between the week. I mean, if it is a book, you know, it cannot be only over the weekend because it will need a lot of
Yes.
work.
I
So
was
we
I
may
was
have
going to
to meet.
say we will not use the classes for
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So we
So
may have
Saturday,
to meet.
Sunday, you got to create your subgroup, Samita ji. I'm happy to help. We will
Yeah.
find time during the week to contribute, discuss, finalize this. But I think you already have a good hang of it, and Mama ji's.
Yeah.
I'm glad both of you are totally aligned on this.
Yeah.
I just have one input, which probably we can close in this meeting because it can get everybody's inputs. So, definition of the target is a good question that Mamaji started with, right? So, who is this beginner or who is this person? So, I think make sure that we have that very clear. So, is it
A-
somebody who? Yeah, go ahead.
age group can be 16 onwards,
Mhm.
um, and anybody who, I mean, any newcomer, you know, our target audience is whether somebody in your family has heard about Hey Baba and you want to know further. So uh, yeah, any newcomer who wants to, or from that perspective, people who we want must know about Baba. You know, people within our circles who are into uh, other spiritual masters and stuff like that. Not to impose our views, but just introduce our Baba to them in a simplified. If I come for you, come to your house for dinner, and we talk about 100 different things, stocks, this and that. Then in between we say, oh, what is your spiritual inclination and all of that, and then we say, you know, things like, you know, beautiful things about Baba, like how he used to deal with lepers, how he used to, you know, be so real, you know, and even today when he's not in physical form, we can feel him, you know. So making it simpler in morsel side, for people to understand and see our perspective in a simplified form. If nothing else, at least they will have uh, some idea about who Baba is. So they can grow and ripen in their own time. But it will be something like introduction from Baba lovers about Baba. Yeah. So group is any newcomer, age 16 and above. Gender is not important, and this can be global. You know, it can be
It has to be global,
international.
yes.
Yeah, it has to be
Yes.
international, and
Yes.
yeah, and the values he teaches. You know, even for school children, these values are so beautiful, and even if some of them may not agree that he is God, but the kind of things, you know, how to love a neighbor, how to, you know, overlook certain things, how to get, you know, lust, greed and anger are three things which bring humanity down. And our Baba has proclaimed, he says, get rid of these things, and no other religion pinpoints, you know. So if we are able to get it in simpler form, that this avatar who came in bodily form and he's given us these little nuggets to live a cleaner, better life. Sanskaras, you know, for a normal person to understand sanskaras, if he's not an Indian, it's difficult. So maybe impressions and things that bother you, you can erase them by addressing these two, three things. And these problems everyone deals with: anger, lust, and greed. 16 onwards, I think everybody deals with it. Now, if you look from a distance and you let Baba's sayings or you get small anecdotes, it doesn't have to be a lot of words, you know. It has to be simplified, something palatable. So that's what I'm thinking. Jai Baba.
Jay Baba,
Absolutely.
I just want to make some comments here. I think, first of all, we should not be reinventing the wheel. Second is if people have gone to the MCR, I'm sorry, the office in Mehrabad where you register, they have a lot of booklets. One of the booklets I've seen is Avatar Meher Baba, Live Sketch and Messages. I will send you a photograph of the book. It has everything that needs to be said, frankly. And there have been other booklets that have introduced Baba to the world, including the World Fair that was in 1962 in New York City. And then one was in Montreal. And those pamphlets are still available, which gives a brief biographical sketch of Baba. The point I want to make out here is that, without being a devil's advocate, Baba said, take my name to the ear, I will take it from the ear to the heart. That's very clear. And we have seen in Baba families itself, some people are Baba lovers, some people are not Baba lovers. So that itself tells you that it is Baba's grace that allows somebody to start, relating to Baba. So the point out here is, what are we trying to achieve out here? I don't think there is a dearth of any what I call voice, video, data, text. There are the books. There are all these YouTube videos of Baba, which has short, long, everything is there. And we have the books. We have the 7 awakenings. So even if somebody doesn't want to read the Baba literature, the way I like to introduce Baba is basically to read about his life and get inspired by him. Whether you are in any religion, because all religions have the same philosophy, that is love, divine love. That is very clear. So I think that, there are enough, maybe what is lacking is how is Baba relevant to the 21st century? Couple of things. Today is a global village, the meeting of the East and West, women's liberation, the eradication of leprosy, and couple of things. English as a language, using tablets as a way to communicate. So Baba used these kind of things, and we see that manifested today. I think that is the only thing that needs to be communicated from my point of view. Jai Baba.
Yeah, I don't completely agree with you, Kama, on this, because I think the more the flavors, the more different attempts at saying the same thing, the more relevant it becomes to somebody who's coming at it with different impressions, right? So it's basically different strokes for different folks. So I hear you loud and clear that we need not reinvent the wheel, but we surely have a right to create something new for posterity, create something new that will relate in the right manner. I have discovered small nuggets that help me introduce Baba to others. Not all of them, right? So as you said, MPC has a whole selection of these things, but then not everything connects to you, and not everything is something that you feel is the right way of opening the door for Baba for somebody for the first time, right? So in that same way, I think we should let free rein to this initiative and support it wholeheartedly, to make sure that maybe it will draw in a few people in his own way, right? So all we are doing finally is only getting the name out, and also institutionalizing our learning. I think a voice of experience we already heard from Mamaji, right? So he went through this grind, right? And I have gone through this grind as well. As he was speaking, I was able to relate to everything he said. It's far more tougher for somebody who's not from the families to even relate and get comfortable with this. So anything that we can do to ease that process is welcome, is my humble submission.
I
Right?
completely agree with you, Karthik, on institutionalizing our learning. My personal recommendation is don't take up a completely new project, teaching 16 plus, teaching 18 plus, and the whole world on Baba's path. That's a different project. Where we started was we've learned discourses. We saw topics which had interconnect. We wanted to group them together on Trello, which we have already done. Can we improve that?
and make like a storyline out of the Trello. If it leads to a book later, let it be. But we have a Trello which is the work of last 6 months. Can we improve it? Can we regroup it? Can we make it better? So baby steps towards the bigger project would be my recommendation. Otherwise, I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of divergent views on the group so far already.
Yeah, it's a good sane input, but I will leave it to larger group think and
Yeah,
group determination.
me too. But I'm
I,
just trying
I,
to get
yeah, yeah.
everything back.
I don't want to throw wet blankets. I'll leave it open to the group because obviously what you're saying is very pragmatic and more relevant and obviously easier to deliver.
No,
But
I don't like to change the goalposts.
yes,
We
Jai
started
Baba.
6 months ago with Trello. We have not finished it. It's an incomplete
yes,
task.
yes, agree.
Why
Uh,
don't we finish that first
Jai
before we
Baba.
jump to another project? Yeah. And the world is going digital today. Why do we need a printed book? And that's the path we took. So anyway, I stop here. Sorry.
All right. Jai Baba. I agree with all of you. The Trello part, uh, whatever inputs you have, you can pass them on to me and we'll turn it into a book. But when we are introducing a master, we do need small chapters. If this information is available somewhere else, like in brochures or online or whatever, but for the completeness of our effort, we have to do maybe smaller chapters, maybe a pager, but we have to talk about these things. Then the main crux of the book can be the Trello findings. So once you can pass those Trello findings to me, how you want to group it and stuff like that. And then it can be a complete product. Now, these days, books are both printed and they are PDF files also. In fact, while we were speaking, I was also thinking, since this has been an audio exercise, once this book gets ready, we can also have an audio form of it so that more people get to. This is just a labor of love. This is not, saying that we are reinventing the wheel, but we also must do something. We've gained so much in this year and a half, so it's like putting flowers in front of Baba, a simplified version of his concepts. So yes, Trello remains the backbone of the book. Introduction and grouping as introduction to Baba, who he is, maybe a couple of chapters. Main will be whatever you guys find on Trello, and towards the end will be our takeaway. What did this journey do to us? This can be half a page by all of us, or whatever, so that everything is incorporated. And weightage of what is something we want to project more will have more chapters, so that if I pick up a book, or if I pick up an exercise from this group which has been meeting for 1.5 years, it must be complete. It shouldn't leave a person wanting. For example, a new person comes and I mean, I put myself, I didn't know what discourses were. I just bought the book. Once you get into it, it's a reservoir of information. So all that I'm saying is, let's have all the three things. I heard you loud and clear. We don't have to make it like so big also. The big part will be only the learning part, and then action point. So that's what I feel. Yeah, Jai Baba.
All right, the swords are out, Sunil, beware.
Every day. I face them every day. What are you talking about?
Can I have a point here?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes. So the second part is the important part. First part is the driving force toward the second part, and there seems to be a lacunae in our thinking in the second part itself. So, what is the place of God speaks and discussions about God speaks or relations of God speaks into this endeavor of the book, because all what we are doing is an exercise towards only discourses. So will it be complete? Will it be proper?
God speaks is very high level, you know. So I think for this first book we should do just discourses. Then once we survive and we are still friends at the end of this book, then we should try God speaks. I mean, I'm not qualified in any firm. I don't know. Maybe Kama can put in a chapter or so. You know, all of us
You can
come with
make a
different
reference,
stories.
but I still I'm on the side of Sunil, where I think let's just do something and bring it to a logical conclusion. And I think in that sense, obviously, Mamaji, we started with discourses from a structured learning perspective. So the next time we do God speaks in this thorough fashion and then create a primer and do it, that time maybe it calls for another exercise like this, is what I would say. But again, I leave it to the author and the project owner to kind of drive those decisions. And quite honestly, I know the enthusiasm today needs to be sustained and needs to be converted to action. And again, I exhort all of you to help. I saw the message just now, Jayanti. Thank you. Jayanti is volunteering to help on a few topics as well. So please feel free to draft her appropriately, Mamita. And I think let's see where it goes. I'm very supportive, and I'm also willing to contribute to the project with time and effort. Right. So that's on my
So,
side.
Jay Baba, I have to give a disclaimer. I know how to do books because that's my profession, but I am very technologically challenged. So I'll, I'll, I'll just write it down what I feel this book should be all about, and then we divide this chapter to this one, this one, this one. But technically, you guys have to help me. I'm not even on Trello. I don't even know what is there. So bear that in mind.
Sure. We'll work through the detail. I know we're almost out of time, so I'm not going to do the rest of the quizzes. I'm going to put those quizzes out on Telegram, but I surely want to hear it from Ravi and Sanjay and Jayanti before we wrap up on their inputs, because we didn't hear any of them. Sanjay, you've been quiet.
Yeah, Jay Baba. Actually, half of the call I was kind of doing something else. So, okay. But
Oh,
I
okay.
did hear last 15 minutes of discussion.
Okay.
I think, I mean, I'll just give you my, what I was coming to my mind when I was listening to you all. 15th of October, I was in Amritsar, and I went to the Golden Temple in the morning, early morning. And they are reading that part in the Sanctum Sanctorium area, and that is displayed on a very large screens across 4 places in the perimeter area. And whatever was getting written is all Baba messages: love to the master, surrender to the master, helping others. Everything was, I was ready. This is all Baba's messages. Copyright violation kind of thing. It's looking like that actually. So the people who are devoted to the Guru Granth Sahib, devoted to the Guru Nanak's messages, do any real need to tell them about Baba? Because it seems they may be already on the path, because the same messages they are following actually. So that's one thought which was coming up. But of course, as we have learned, we should, if we can put across in some chapters to improve learning. Basically, it will first improve our learning, and then it will be Baba's wish that somebody could benefit from it. We should, of course, the message that bring Baba's name to the ear. I think, as Kama said, that there are enough messages which are available. And the 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 person whom we are kind of targeting, or targeting may not be the right word, it's a marketing term, but the person who comes in contact with Baba is all different messages will, that initiation, that first inkling comes from maybe the message of his prayer of repentance, if he is of that kind of mood. Somebody may get impressed by Baba from his message of how to love God, somebody from the Parvardigar prayer, somebody from his poor work, somebody who is into kind of a cosmic kind of thought process, he might be more impressed in the planes business and all that. So it's not the same thing uh, which kind of attracts somebody into Baba's fold. The doors are all wide open. 360 degrees are only a count. It could be millions of doors which are open to Baba, and anybody can enter from any direction and reach him actually. So it comes to that fold, the circle of him. That's what was coming to my mind. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Sanjay ji, very well said. And I think that's a chapter on its own. So you are going to write that.
Got me.
360 degrees and multiple doors to entry.
Yeah, this is a chapter on its own. And really.
So though we welcome all the other paths and masters and the overlapping messages, I think I keep getting reminded of the oats and the mother, right? So after you know that it's the latest packet of oats, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think we better
many people have come to Baba through music actually, because they get attracted. Unke ghar mein bhajan ho raha hai, let's go and sit there, because they love music and like the sounds.
Nice.
And they get involved into Baba. They are not necessarily kind of spiritually oriented people, but that gives them the entry into Baba's fold, and then they start learning and start loving them actually. And there have been people who have been music lovers coming into Baba's functions and everything, and they do not sustain actually. After 3, 4, 5 years, you find them, they are not there actually. They just came for a few years and they went off.
True.
So yeah, Jai Baba.
Different strokes for different folks. So Jayanti, any comments, any inputs?
No, I'm good. I think I have a feeling very strongly that I'm in the experts' hands and I can just contribute and learn more. But it is the thought process are good for me, at least, as I joined very late in these sessions. But I went through the discourses and the God Speaks books. So the thought process are good in terms of the storyline and in terms of the progress. Happy to contribute and looking forward to that.
Great. Thanks. So good. And I think we'll keep that in mind. Ravi.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba,
Jai
everyone.
Baba.
How are you all?
Baba, Ravi ji, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I'm sorry, I'm a little late. This weekend, all the weekends, I'm somehow having something or other going on, so I'm not able to come. But let me tell my opinion. I'm really encouraged by the enthusiasm that everyone is showing, and it's all because of your love for Baba. I'm impressed with that, very impressed with that. And if you guys ever take up anything, put me in there, allot me some work, I would love to do anything for Baba. Okay. Having said that, on the other side of, in a critical thinking way, I don't see any specific goal here. I know you guys want to do something, you have a goal, but that goal is not very, very specific, That's what I understand from Mamaji's comments and the others' comments. I think we need to, before we take up any major task like this, we need to be very, very specific about goal very clearly. That's what coming to my mind. And other point is, once we do anything, it all depends upon how much we impress Baba with our love. And Baba has his own ways of using his tools, his Baba lovers, his lovers, to make other people fall into his trap. So those are my comments. Jai Baba.
Love
Jai
the word
Baba.
trap. Trap was beautiful. Jai Baba.
Trap, yeah.
जाल जाल में फांस लिया जैसे बोलते हिंदी में बोलते हैं.
Correct. He snares our hearts. So I leave the goal definition to the project owner, but I hear you. I see what you're saying. Focus and clear action and top-down planning is what is important. We leave that to Nomita for now, and we'll give her a few days or let her come back. I will also work with her, and then we'll see where it goes. But
Jai Baba, I am not the project owner, please. I am
you
a speck
are.
of sand in Baba's feet. But the goal is, to me, I mean, maybe each one of us can see what do we find anything in it. For me, when I went to Baba's fold, I was completely lost. I didn't know where to start, where to end, though I come from a Baba family. So anybody who was little bit interested in Baba and he wants to go and find out more, it is, they have those books for dummies, something like that. The first chapter and last chapter, which I'll deal, the serious part is not for dummies, it's for Maharathis like all of you. So yeah, that's the goal. The goal is to share our love of Baba with our fellow travelers who may be a few steps behind. I think, to me, it's a very simple goal, to share our love. And we've been together as a group, and this is going to be a bouquet of flowers at Baba's feet by all of us who've been walking on this journey for last 1.5 years. So it's a group project, So it is our offering to our master. What he wants to do with it, it is his decision. We are in no position. We are no ones. He will direct us, and then this book or whatever we make of it, a PDF or whatever, it will do what it is meant to do. So I leave that in Baba's feet for him to judge or at all allow us to do something like that. If we get going, which means he wants us to do. If we don't get going, that means he doesn't want us to do. We'll wait for another occasion. There is no friction at all, none at all. It's just from the heart. Jai Baba.
Insha Baba. So the project director is Baba. Project owner is Nomita.
No, I'm not. Baba is the owner. I'm not.
I'm not going to let you go, okay?
No, I put Baba with white clothes just in front. I have nobody.
Okay. Anyway, we are out of time, but I think we missed one important aspect, and I wanted to just give my quick comments and any reactions from others, and then we wrap up. I think one of the big bones of contention when we started this journey, and it became pretty acrimonious and ugly, was the fact of how we should read this thematic and different sequence or not different sequence. I was thinking about it literally a week or 10 days back. And in fact, it was on the chapter on God as infinite love, the last one. And that's where it hit me that I think there's a lot of merit in doing this thematically, especially for a serious student. And I stand totally convinced of that. And I hope in this journey and this way of grouping it and seeing the different interrelationships and conceptual learnings, we all are convinced of that. And I think that should be something that we should place at the feet of Baba for the others to take away for posterity. I think that is what I think I wanted to say, right? There is a way of trying to group it and reading it in that manner to improve the quality of learning, right? So, with full respect to what has been done by the trust and by Baba and in the nature of discourses, all the editions, right? So that's just my input. And anything else before we wrap up?
What about tomorrow?
Yeah, so tomorrow, yeah, that's a good question. So let me quickly tell you the input that I have received from Neha Sharad, who is requesting that we take up Tiffin lectures as the next book, and we briefly talked about this before we started the class. So I'm okay. I'm neutral between Listen Humanity and Tiffin lectures, and I'll go with whatever the group wants to do. So maybe we can do Listen Humanity now and then take up Tiffin lectures. I just want to be able to get back to her and tell her that she wants to join with a group of people because she's recently discovered the book and she feels it's very power packed and very important for group study. And she felt that a group like ours would benefit immensely from it. I do not know the book, so I leave it to everybody else to comment on it and decide.
I happen to listen to this the video audio portion of it, and also read the book. It's a great book, as I think you used the correct word, power packed. And I think that will be a good idea actually to take up different lectures, very small lectures, but very powerful lectures. Very few of them. Even the book looks big, but actually very few lectures. I think we should take it up. I vote for different lectures. Yes.
Jai Baba, I also vote for Tiffin lectures. I mean,
I vote for Tiffin given the time of day, but yeah. Jokes apart, I'm tending towards Tiffin lectures because I found that
Jai Baba, one
humanity.
second. Hello.
Go ahead, JK.
Is that there is no digital copy available, I believe, unless somebody has a digital copy. Second, the
No,
hard
she
copy
said it's available. She said it's available. I think
No, it's
is
not
it available?
available.
Is it
No, it's not
available
available.
for? It's available free for just like God Speaks and Discourses.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Still, book is sold.
okay.
It costs $3,600, I think, the hard copy. And I think that without having a hard copy format or a digital copy for each one of the participants, I think the reading would not be,
We'll
easy.
buy a Meher Baba Awakens copy digitally and use it for the reading. We could pull that in. We could pull that in and buy it, and I'll keep it on Kindle on an ID associated with the generic MBA ID, so everybody has access to it. I'm okay with that. I think that shouldn't stop us from selecting what's sounding like a good book.
How much is the book, by the way?
Also, I don't know whether having another group participate, the energy aspects, so I'm going to leave that to the group here. But I think we are a close-knit group. I don't know how the other group operates and what kind of emotions, so.
Well, they are the ones joining us, and we don't change ourselves. We do what we want to do. They can come join, and if they get comfortable, they're more than welcome. If they don't get comfortable, they are more than welcome to leave. So I would just look at it like that. But let me do some research on this Kindle edition and get back to you all, and then we'll decide. If that doesn't work, then we go and do Listen Humanity starting tomorrow.
Whoever comes into our group, as long as we don't irritate them or test their patience or anything, we should be fine.
No, but even those whose patience is being tested stick around. So I beg to differ.
It's Baba who tests
This is
our
Baba's
patience.
test. Yeah.
I'm telling you, this group
People are
is
passing
fun.
Baba's test.
This group is for very different reasons.
Yeah,
we are
and
all
other
sorting
thing
our
is
samskaras.
other thing is that Listen Humanity has been there in a very popular publication all over. So many of them must have already glanced it through once at least part of us. So Tiffin lectures, I think, is something which I have never heard in the beginning. I have been hearing of this book only recently. like 3-4 years. So let's do this book. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
You know,
done. So as long as
truths,
sure,
lot
go
of
ahead,
truths
Ravi.
that were never revealed in
Yes.
discourses and God
Yeah.
speaks are revealed there.
Yeah.
I think just out of curiosity, how many people want to join?
I don't know. She said maybe 10 people. I don't know.
10.
Yeah.
Then I have similar fear as JK.
No,
We
no.
are
So
hardly 6, 7, 8.
no. So we'll do.
Democracy, they will take it over.
They
We get
can. They
hijacked.
can. So we will let that happen. We'll submit to whatever Baba wants. I don't care.
Okay.
But
Anyway, we can try.
I think
No
It's
harm.
not available in Kindle. It's not available in Kindle form. I just checked.
Jai Baba.
Okay.
Jai Baba, before closing, I want to read this. Please allow me.
Please go ahead.
The prayer of repentance. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought, and for every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall on others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Baba, forgive us all. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
being the guiding light within us and everywhere else. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Thank you,
So-
thank you, everybody.
What are we going to do
So
tomorrow?
it looks like if we don't get the Kindle edition, we just go ahead and do Listen Humanity. And I'll probably write to. Is it a Sufism publication? Or is it?
No, Avatar Meher Baba Trust.
Why is it so expensive? So I'll write to the trust asking for.
Actually,
There
it's
is-
printed in,
there is,
printed in Hyderabad, actually.
There.
Okay.
Released
I
by
think
No,
Sharia.
it's Sharia.
then
it
it's
is
a Sharia
press.
Then it's Sharia
It's press.
reprinted by Meher Book House. Okay. That's why it's so
Other thing is there is a WhatsApp group on Tiffin Lectures.
Yes, I'm also
So
there.
maybe the person who is running that group, administrator, we could ask if he has a soft copy. He could share.
sure.
I think
Please check.
WhatsApp
That's another
group
idea.
leader is the
I think they
better
spent a lot of
quality.
money. They spent a lot of money to publish this. They need to recover all that money. That's the reason
No.
why.
So as a
Okay,
group,
okay.
I don't mind spending to get a soft copy. Is what I'm again confirming here.
We may get a lead.
Yeah, we may get a lead. If there is a way to get a soft copy and also sign in blood for not distributing it, maybe we may get access to it.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
try it, whoever is on that group, and I will also try to research it. Failing which, we start with Listen Humanity tomorrow.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai
Jai
Baba,
Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone. Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you.
Jai Baba.